Every doc wants to make a bigger impact. What's getting in your way? You're tuned into the Subluxation Squad podcast. One squad, one mission. Chiropractic for all.
Hey, Pacha, welcome. It's good to see you again on another episode here.
Hey, Steve. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I love these days. I love every time we get a chance to chat, and whether or not we have a guest or not, we always have some great conversations. So,
so much to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you always bring some of the best questions, right? And you not being a chiropractor, you get to see, I think, some of our blind spots that we don't see because we're so involved in chiropractic, we're so involved in our practices. And so you had some really great questions for me earlier today when we were just chatting before we jumped on here. So I'm excited to dive into this topic today.
Yeah, I know that I appreciated myself when I learned from other people outside of my industry, because they just see things differently, right? It's like if you're in your own little world, like you talk with your people, you speak the same language, and you kind of go in circles, right? So
we do that, we do that a lot. I mean, all people do, but chiropractors specifically, because we're we're outliers, right? And we've been attacked for many years, and so we tend to really stick together and then show up at the same things all the time and not branch out into other industries and talk to other industry leaders and things like that. So I'm curious, as an industry leader outside of chiropractic and as a brand specialist, what are some of the things that you see when you're working with chiropractors that really stand out to you?
Yeah, so one thing that I brought up to you earlier, which made us like, hey, we should talk about this on another episode. One thing that I've noticed with some of the clients I'm working with, and even listening to some people, whether they're chiropractors or not, but even chiropractors that are, coaching or are being in a vendor space, helping other chiropractors. A lot of the way they talk about helping them has a very allopathic feel to me, which is like, I can fix your business from the outside. And I'm kind of, as I learn about chiropractic philosophy, I'm still learning. I never went to school for it, even though I heard schools don't teach that stuff anymore. As I learn about it, it makes a lot of sense. And when I see it from a branding perspective, I think too that coaching and like your brand needs to start from the inside. Like you can't fix something from the outside. And it's such a statement in chiropractic, and a lot of chiropractors don't seem to apply that to their business. They want their patients to understand it, that healing happens from the inside out, right? And then we just remove the interference so innate, or whatever you want to call it, can do its thing. Right. I think in the business space, I see very similar things. It's not like people don't know what to do. They have interference, and that needs to get removed. But it's like, let me help you from the outside.
Yeah. So I think there's, do people always know what to do though? If you're a chiropractor, you're not necessarily a great business person.
That's true. Right? That's true.
So,
however, like what I see is that, from a coaching perspective, especially, or even like any successful chiropractor, like, I figured out something that worked really well for me, right? And then I'm like, hey, I see you're struggling with something, like your business isn't growing. Take what I did, just do exactly, I'm giving you my blueprint, my framework, just do what I did, and you will be successful too. And that, in most cases, it's just not true. It's true in some cases, maybe even a lot of cases, whatever it is, but it's not always true. And I feel like there's a disconnect because there isn't enough talk about why it worked. And
that's key, right? So to take a blueprint and apply it, just try to apply that blueprint. That's a very mechanistic approach, right? Mm-hmm. It's not vitalistic at all. It doesn't take into account some really important things like that individual and the nature of their culture, of their business, their brand, all those sorts of things. I've really seen this even with my own workshop company, right? I was taking it from a very mechanistic approach, like, okay, we'll get the butts in the seats. and we do that. However, I was very successful with it, not only because I was getting butts in the seats, but that's just one step.
Mhm.
The vitalistic piece is how I was taking people from a belief that chiropractic is good for neck pain and back pain at best, and helping take them to the end where now they understood that they, not only with their major health challenge, should be getting checked, but their entire family. And that's an art form. And I didn't understand that at first. I tried to just like, okay, here's the butts in the seats, and here, say this, instead of now really understanding the principles and how to help individuals uniquely express those principles themselves, not trying to be me. And so systems can work, but like you're sharing, it has to be around principles, that you adapt for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. That's, there's foundations, and they, like, any of the guests we've talked to so far, I think they all have agreed on systems, and then, having clear principles that these systems are built upon. Like, you need that solid foundation of the understanding of whatever you stand for, really. Like, everybody can define that for themselves. You don't even have to agree on it with other people necessarily. It's helpful for the profession if there's some kind of agreement, because it just makes it easier to communicate it with the public. Right. But in the end, like, you have to be very clear on, this is what I believe in, this is what I stand for, and then the systems are built on that. And I think that's this foundation is what's lacking a little bit. Not that I don't even want to say that the chiropractors don't have the principles or don't have the beliefs. They're just not clear on it, and then how to use them with the systems that they're being presented from people who've been successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And the piece that we were talking about earlier too, in regards to addressing the problems in practice from an outside-in perspective, right, versus going inside and trying to get to the root. Like, for example, you brought up, if someone has a quote, a new patient problem, they usually just try to solve it by getting more new patients, right? That's a classic example. But if their conversion process and retention process if that system is broken, well, that's just a Band-Aid. That's an allopathic approach. So how does I think that one of the most important questions is, how can a chiropractor become more aware of their own subluxations in practice and not go to an allopathic model of treating the symptoms?
I think having a coach and somebody who is aware of that and looks at it from that perspective can be really helpful. So not necessarily somebody who says, you need to do this because that's the outside, but somebody who says, this is what should be happening. Where are you? And why are you there? Is because some people, we're naturally good at things, right? Like, some people are really good at making connections with people. Some people are really good at building the systems and having that structure, but they lack other things. And when there is stress on the business, in this case, we fall back to what's already easy. So if we're really good at making sales, whatever, or really good at marketing, really good at Google ads or whatever, we just tend to put more energy and more resources there because that's already working, not right. Realizing that there might be some other things that need to get fixed. So having somebody who can, if you can't do it yourself, that can, give you that view from the outside and say, okay, where are you at? Like, let's go through it. Like, where are things stuck? That can be really helpful. That's a good step. Like, you actually need to step out so you can see the inside better, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we did an analysis of all of our guests, up until this point, and there was 3 common denominators, right? The first was clarity, right, around who you are, what you do, clarity around chiropractic, really having that conviction, which is the brand, really, right? Would you agree? Like, that's the brand part, having clarity around that piece?
Part of the brand. I think that's the foundation of the brand, but you need to layer your own thing on top of it.
Yes. Yeah, because you can't. Yes. Go ahead, sorry.
No, like, chiropractic has to differentiate from the other stuff.
Yeah.
From whatever else is out there, but you also, as a chiropractor, have to differentiate between each other. a patient
True.
that comes to your website or, finds you on social media still have to see, okay, which of these chiropractors, is the best for me. Maybe it doesn't matter, but it does matter. Like there is a difference. No two people are alike. There's, you just approach things differently. There's different techniques, there's different personalities and different communication styles, all those things. We have 5 love languages and,
whether you've ever consciously explored this or not, something about my brand, spoke to you years ago when you became and my brand was very distinct. It was about me and what I wanted in my brand, and I think that's really important, unless you're building something where it's not built around, and there's lots of models out there in chiropractic that aren't built around a single chiropractor, right? But they still have a very, very strong brand presence.
But there is somebody who started it.
Right.
Like it doesn't, like you can't just, it doesn't spawn, like into a brand. Like somebody has a conviction, somebody has principles and beliefs, and they shape the brand. Mm-hmm. The trick is to actually scale those beliefs, because that's where a lot of like bigger businesses fail. Like
so now you're talking about your teams and your people and also that message out to the public. We're going to go into team building, in some future episodes. I'm really excited about that piece, because I know there's parts of team building that I did really well, mostly around the clarity, conviction, the mission. Like that's what I did really well. But I also know I did really poorly around management and KPIs and expectations. And that was the part where I was lax and weak, because it wasn't a skill set or it was limiting beliefs that I had at the time, right? And so I'm excited, but see, that's a, I could have gone from good to great if I had just hired a coach who helped me do that piece. And it doesn't even have to be a chiropractic coach. Like that could be someone not even in the chiropractic industry, right?
Were you aware of it though? Were you aware that was, that there was like room for improvement? Let's put it that way.
I was at a certain point, right? I was aware. I know I avoided being an employer, like a solid manager, a leader in that regard. I did the easy part, right? I did the fun part, and the part that was difficult and hard, I didn't dive into that, right? And that was at the expense of additional support and success and more people under care. I see that now, which is why, now that I understand that about myself, I've been working on that over the years. And then I also, we're about to start some practices here in Austin, and I have a partner, who complements the areas that I'm weak in, and I complement the areas that he's not an expert in. So, how
did you figure that out? Like, well, how do you look at yourself as an entrepreneur and say, okay, what are my strengths? Like, where do I need help? And then, like, what kind of help, right? Like, do I bring in a partner? Do I find a coach specifically for that thing?
So it was through it's through mentors, right? Surrounding yourself with people who are doing the things that are inspiring to you. Liam Schubel, I never thought I wanted to have more than one practice, right? Because that sounded hard. It sounded difficult. And then here comes Liam, and he has 30 practices and he's doing it and making it look easy. But so that just opened up my mind and my consciousness, hanging out with Sean Dill and seeing him do the same. So it's who you surround yourselves with, right? And then I recognized, I encourage everyone listening not to do it this way, right? Because you may not start another business outside of chiropractic. I didn't start looking at my chiropractic business truly as a business and treating it that way until I had a separate business outside of chiropractic. Because now that's real easy to look at a chiropractic or at a business that's not a healthcare facility as a business, which it is. But for some reason, we have a real hard time to accept and approach our chiropractic business, which is what it is legally, as a business. which in every business has different departments. You have a branding aspect, you have a sales, marketing, you have production, you have outreach, social media department. You have all these different departments. So it was then reading Scaling Up. That's a great book to really help you look at your business as a business. And then hanging out with the right people, like getting coaching. I coached with Sean Dill for many years. I hang out with the Remarkable Practice. I'm a success partner with them, and I see this, their systems that they have for their people. It's truly from a business perspective, right? And with the heart still. And that's the thing. We sometimes, as providers, we think that we can't blend both. And providers, healthcare providers, especially chiropractors and people in natural healing, we tend to we're givers. We want to give, and the receiving hand is not equal, right? And it usually has to do with our own stuff, trying to heal our own stuff, which we never fully address, right? So there's all these blind spots that we aren't talking about, and hopefully at some point it comes to the surface.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I think it's not even just like in the healing arts, like I just love what I do, and having the conversations with my client, that's what like fills me up. It's not that they pay me. I mean, that's nice too, because I have bills to pay, but like I would do my work for free, literally, if I could, because, it fills me up. And I think that's the same for chiropractors. So having to look at this thing that you love so much with this business mindset, and then finding things that you don't really want to do, that just kind of takes, it takes some of the fun out of it. And I actually, when I start working with some of my clients, I can feel that, because they're in a situation where they're not excited about it anymore. They're like so in the business trenches that they lost that connection to the awesomeness that chiropractic is. They lost their spark, and I kind of have to get it back out of them, because that's what their brand is built on their own spark, whether it's one location and one doctor, or you have multiple businesses or locations.
Yeah, I think the key is intentionality, right? And recognizing that it can be both, that you can have both, that you can balance the two, right? And then how are you going to intentionally create that, right? And then where are you lacking? Where the things that are hard, are you just not willing to put in the work, or to let it go and bring in the person who can help fulfill that aspect and build that aspect. And that has to do with, we all have limiting beliefs, right? These are the things that stop us as humans. One of my limiting beliefs was like that I had to, and my winning formula was pushing, grinding. I got to do it myself. If it's going to be done right, I'm going to do it. And
Same.
boy, what a stifling limiting belief to the growth of not only myself and the service of so many more people, but the people around me too, right? That I'm supposed to be leading. And I think it really comes down to, if we go back to chiropractic philosophy and technique, right? There needs to be an objective analysis, which is very difficult without, I don't know where I'm subluxated right now. Right? Physically, I have to go to a chiropractor to have an analysis. I can't adjust myself once that analysis has been made. I have to see, that is an outside in force, right? But there's an inside out response. And so we need to be able to first self-reflection, like, are there areas where I have some limiting beliefs? Are there some places where maybe there's some blind spots? Asking your team, asking friends, asking colleagues. Doesn't have to be a paid coach, right? If you find a coach that you resonate with, and like, yeah, that makes sense, I like that, like being all in and being coachable, and doing the hard things.
Being open to those conversations is actually not that easy. Like, because we want the easy way, right? Like, we want, just tell me what to do and I'll do that, instead of like digging deep inside and figuring out, like, why am I so hesitant to, be responsive to certain ideas.
Yeah, well, we want that growth for our patients, right? And that's see, this is the major contradiction. It's easier to do as I say than, to do as I do, right? And so, but like, if you're growth minded, which most chiropractors are, they are on this path. It's like, what can I, today, as you're listening to this, where, just stopping from us, taking a deep breath. Okay, what areas of my life, not just business, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, family, like what are some areas, and not with shame or guilt, because that's the other piece that we usually go into. Just taking an objective as possible assessment and saying, okay, yeah, I'm really great here, and I'm going to keep doing that. And man, if I just address that subluxation over here, maybe I can do it myself, or maybe an outside force, some support, some systems, some principles could help you break through that. What would that look like?
Something that recently really shifted for me in terms of like bringing on others to help you, either with doing things that you're just overwhelmed doing, or things that you can't do as well because it's not your, like area of, I don't know, like something you're just not that good at, right? What really shifted my perspective was the idea of allowing other people to really shine next to you.
Yeah.
Because not everybody is going to open their own practice or is going to, do their own thing where they then have to do everything. And they might be aware of that. So allowing people into your practice and letting them be their best self, that might be just the greatest gift you can give somebody. Yeah. So creating that team and bringing in people that might outshine you in certain aspects, that could, then it might feel, maybe it feels humbling to you and you don't want to do it. Maybe you're afraid they're going to leave if they're too good, but it might also just be that you're giving somebody a chance to do something they're not able to do otherwise, because it would mean doing other stuff that they can't do by themselves. Yeah. And that really shifted my perspective, like to just allow people to do great work.
Yeah. Well, we just hired someone yesterday, you and I did, to take care of the post-production of these episodes, to share on social media, do all the things that we don't have time to do, nor am I, like, I'm not good at it. Like, he was so excited about it. And he even told us he doesn't have to work, because he has another business, but he really loves, and he was so proud. And that's what he said. He was so proud of the work he had done for another client, right? Mm-hmm. Which mimics like what you're saying as well. And I love certain aspects of things and I'm great at it. I'm going to keep doing that. Like, those are things I want to do, but how many of us try to do so much that we shouldn't even be touching, with delegation and micromanagement as well, which I know I'm guilty of in the past.
It's difficult, especially when you're just starting out and you kind of, all the things that you have to do and, you just want to help people. And then there's like all this other stuff.
I think that's a really good topic to talk about before we end this episode. When you are starting out, you tend to need your biggest resource is typically time. It's not usually money when you're first starting out. And so you tend to do it all. Like, you're the janitor, you're the payroll person, you're doing everything. And I remember being there, and I remember one piece, because you do have to do that in large degree. However, one piece that I tried to do it with was payroll, right? And payroll is ridiculously inexpensive for someone else to do it. And I had no idea what I was doing, and it ended up draining my time. Like, something that would have cost $30 per payroll cycle, I was trying to do, and it was costing me so much time and energy. Within that time could have been used building my practice, doing one-to-ones with other community members, referral partners, setting up a talk, all these different things. So I guess my message there is, is having that self-awareness of, yes, I got to do these things, but okay, wait, this thing, my time, if I invest the $30 here, the $50 here, that's going to give me 2 hours here, and using. So you got to be judicious in your allocation of resources.
I kind of want to go back to where we started, trying to fix your business from the outside. And I'm wondering, like, how would you approach a business problem, which for most people, it probably comes back to new patients, right? I mean, like that's the symptom that you're seeing, but then the interference can be in like tons of different places, really.
Yes.
Like, how do you approach it and take a look at it from the outside and say, okay, the problem is I need more new patients, but how do I figure out where the actual interference is?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One, we need to ask the question, is there a shortage of need? Right? And that's not true. There's no shortage of need. There's shortage of demand.
Yeah.
So we have to create demand. That's what we have to do as individual providers, because there's no demand for subluxation centered nervous system focused chiropractic. So how do we create that demand? Well, you could meet the demand where it's at, which is in a low back pain, neck pain model. That's what most people do. You could do ads around that. You could do those things, and that will probably bring in some new patients. Now you have an education and conversion challenge, right? You got to convert. Number one, you got to convert those people, so sales, and then now you're going to have a much harder retention problem, because that's a much harder challenge to educate those people why they need corrective care and ongoing wellness care, why their patients should be, or why their family members should be under care, versus the model that I moved towards, which was creating demand with people who have massive problems, chronic problems, long-term problems, and they're highly, and then do front-end education before they even come in for an exam. And so now that was a very easy sales process, because I had pre-qualified and I had sold them before they even came in for an exam. So retention was extremely easy. I only did 12-month care plans for everybody. So that's one way to address things. Even before the new patient problem, even though before you say you have a new patient problem, though, I think if you really want to get to the root of your problem, it's really looking at what is my conversion percentage? What percentage of new patients coming in through the door am I number one, converting to care? So, and when I say converting to care, actually acceptance of a care plan, not that they come in for visit 2 and 3, right? But they actually accept a care plan. That means they've converted. And then what percentage of those stick with the care plan, retention? And then what percentage of those people purchase again at the end of that care plan, which is, the true metric. So, because if those, like, for instance, an office should be at minimum 70% conversion, right? That should be minimum. If you're not there, you have a sales problem, right? Or you have a attraction problem because you're bringing in the wrong people, and it might be a combination of both. And
what's the problem of what causes that? Attracting the wrong people. Like who's the wrong person, would you say? Like everybody needs chiropractic care, right?
Your avatar, your brand, right?
Wait. So that means you have to be clear, because not everybody with a spine.
Sure. That requires clarity around your brand. Is your brand anyone and everyone with a spine? If it is, you're going to have a lot of challenges, because you're going to, and a lot of frustrations, because we cannot serve everybody well. Right? And so that's why focusing in on your avatars, your niche, right? They say the niche makes you rich. That's because smart brands focus in on very specific problems and people that have those problems.
And it's, when you think about it, it just makes sense. it seems like, and it feels like you're leaving money on the table by saying, I'm not serving everybody. I'm only serving, I'm focused on helping women, middle-aged women with migraines. It seems like a very narrow market, but because you're saying I'm only helping those people, that automatically makes you look like a specialist. I'm not, I'm not helping kids. I'm not helping athletes. I'm just helping those people. And it just automatically it's like, oh, that's me, or this is not me.
People automatically see you as a specialist, which means that what does society think of specialists? They understand that they're going to cost more. They will travel a further distance. They don't care whether or not you're in insurance, and they're much more likely to take your recommendations. This is why I always say, be the specialist. And being the specialist requires having a very specific focus. And I'll use this example in my practice. So I was a pediatric and family chiropractor. I specialized in helping kids with neurodevelopmental challenges. Right. This it was very clear, right, through my education, my marketing, my brand, and my office. So I was not in network with Medicare. We weren't looking to get the geriatric population. I suck at that population. I'm a kid. I want to be on the ground playing. I want to be doing that's my brand. That's me. Did that mean that because here's the thing, those two populations together, they don't always jive well. If it's not all older people, but older people can be they want it quiet. Maybe they don't want kids touching them. They don't want all that and so we didn't attract those people. Now, occasionally some older individuals did end up in my practice, a few, but guess what? They loved it. Those are the unique people. They loved the energy. They loved the kids, and they got more energy out of it. However, what did I do when they came in? I let them know that this might not be the right place. Hey, just so you know, there's going to be lots of kids. You probably saw them running around out there. They're going to be, some of them have some developmental challenges, and so they might come up to you, touch you, do different things. I just want to make sure that you feel really comfortable, that this is the right place for you too, right? So you create awareness around your brand, and this is how it's going to be. Should you choose to come here, guess what that does to those people? They always be like, oh yeah, no, that sounds great. They want to be there. The reason they came in is because they heard that you could help them in some way, right? And now you give the framework for how you're going to do that and what it's going to look like. Well, now there's an arrangement and an agreement.
Exactly. Yeah. So that clarity is important, and as difficult or as weird as it sounds, because I hear people telling me, I don't have an avatar. I help anybody. It's I'm sure you do. You're not going to send anybody away. If somebody comes through your door, you're not going to say, sorry, you're too old. We're not going to serve you here. Well, they're attracted to because of your branding. And, if they came to you, there's a reason they might actually belong there. And if not, then they can figure it out once they walk through the door. But you're not going to say no to anybody. It's just making it a little bit more your messaging is going to be so much clearer. I mean, anything you do will be so much clearer if you know who you're talking to. If I know I'm talking to an athlete, I change my language. I bring up examples that fit into their world. I use words that they understand, analogies, metaphors, everything kind of when you think about it, when I decided to work with chiropractors, I changed my language. I changed my messaging because I speak your language. So you understand what I'm talking about. And this changes everything. Changes your marketing, it changes your sales, and it makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, Dr. John DeMartini, which he's one of my mentors, right? He'd say, caring is choosing to communicate in other people's value systems. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean changing who you are. It means caring enough to shift your communication in a way that is relatable for them. Mm-hmm. And that's why our guests, right, they said clarity and conviction, right, was number one. Mm-hmm. Systems was number two, and communication was number three. Mm-hmm. Becoming a master of communication. And that's where masters go, because they care enough about the people to be able to communicate with anyone, and then really deciding on those avatars that, okay, these are the people. Now when you have 2 to 3 or maybe 4 avatars, now you know exactly how to communicate with those people. Your team, if you lead them, will know exactly how to communicate with those people to get them when they're on the phone. How do I, to get them to say yes to an exam, right? Now it's going to be much more clear and easy. There's a process with that person.
Yeah, totally.
Critical.
Have you heard of spiral dynamics?
Spiral dynamics? I have not. No.
It's about levels of consciousness, basically, and basically, innate, expanding, like growing, and we start when we're born. Our consciousness evolves, right? We have our awareness changes, and we stop at different levels, right? And then we grow through whatever experiences we have. We grow and expand into the next level of consciousness. Now, the tricky part is that people at different levels of consciousness don't necessarily communicate very well with each other. Sure. So that's what it reminded me of, what you were saying about Dr. John DeMartini. Like, you have to adjust your messaging, and obviously it's easier if you are addressing a group of people who share certain characteristics, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why I love workshops, because it's a group of those people. Now, even in those groups of people, there's avatars. I've identified that. Like I know.
I remember you had like 20 different ones or something.
Yeah, 20 different avatars for 3 different workshops. Right. So I know who these people are and how to communicate. That's why I had a 90% conversion rate with workshop people. Right. My associates were in the high 80s. Because we knew who these people were and what they need to hear to be able to say yes to the thing that they want and need, right? That's why they're in the office. They want and need this thing. And now we just have to know, how do we communicate in a way that helps them get that thing? You mentioned the spiral dynamics. DeMartini talks about concentric rings of consciousness, right? As we grow. And so that means, like with a child, right? We don't talk to a child up here in our concentric ring.
Exactly.
We bring it down, right? And so that's what we're constantly assessing that. Who's in front of us, right? Now, he also said that you can only serve those individuals who are at a lower consciousness or vibration than yourself, right? Because who's going to come to you if they're at a higher vibration? They're actually helping you at that point. Right?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, at least what I understand from spiral dynamics, which is different from what he talks about, I wouldn't say that. But actually, we should invite. I know somebody who can talk to this topic, because I heard him speak about it on stage, and he was mainly talking about this whole like pediatric thing, like how you're addressing children at different levels of consciousness and the parents, of those children, explaining to them this is what your child understands right now, and this is what they don't understand yet. So it's super, super fascinating topic. And it fits right into my world of like, avatars and archetypes and all those fun stuff. So
we should talk about archetypes soon.
We should.
I would love for you to share archetypes, like, so the chiropractors can understand their own archetype for themselves and their brand, and then also all the various archetypes out there in terms of the people like that.
That'll be fun to do. What I've to come back to spiral dynamics for a second, what really clicked for me not too long ago is how connected chiropractic really is to spiral dynamics, because what you are really doing is allowing that to happen, because you can't elevate to the next level of consciousness if you're subluxated. It's not going to happen.
Lack of awareness. You need awareness. Your nervous system is the vehicle for awareness, and for mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, if that's what you so believe. And I absolutely. So I love that conversation. We should definitely have that one. Well, I think we probably covered enough of this topic for today. And thinking we went 40 minutes, but and just so everyone, if anyone's still listening, we used to say like, oh, we're going to do 15, 20 minutes. And it's never really worked out that way, which is totally fine because these are some fantastic conversations.
I always love it, for sure. Yeah, we should, like, I always want to get like people on, like if any, if people are listening, like just want you to join the conversation. This is like when we started talking about doing a podcast, like that's what I had in mind, sort of like this, live, like people calling in like they used to do in radio shows, you like ask a question or join the conversation. I have something to say about this. Like this is kind of where I want to take this. So
yeah, for sure. I think as we keep growing the audience and we make those opportunities, and maybe even different times of day, it's always so hard for docs to join at different times of day. But no, absolutely. So let us know and how you'd like to participate, or if you'd like to be a guest sometime. We want to do some panels. We're looking at some panels as well, technique panels, philosophy panels, maybe a politics panel. That would get a little interesting. Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much, Pacha. Thanks for creating this. This was your brainchild, and thanks so much for the opportunity to participate with you on it.
Well, thanks for jumping on board with me on this. It's a lot of fun to grow this with you, and I love our conversations and pushing chiropractors a little bit forward and upward in the spiral, and ourselves. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for hopping on, listening in, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. See ya.
Bye.